Welcome back everybody. Today we are testing the new Hammer Web Tour Hybrid. If you like what we do, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notifications button, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. I want to thank Limerick Bowl for their support. If you're in the area, don't forget to visit Limerick Bowl in Limerick, Pennsylvania. A big thank you to Jeff Miller and Ron Hoppy. Don't forget to check out Haley's Pro Shop in Burlington, Washington for world-class drilling and coaching. First impressions, we wondered if Brunswick would be able to replicate Hammer's original version, and it looks like we won't be disappointed. Alright, jumping right in, like I said, we did wonder how Brunswick was going to make this work. Hammer was the most popular EBI brand, so it's important for Brunswick to get these right. On the surface, I would have suspected it might not be extremely hard to get this one right. The Web Tour wasn't a particularly angular ball, but rather a benchmark type with lots of surface out of the gate. It's kind of in the same vein as IQ Tour balls, Venom Shock, you name it. We've said it before. These low RG, low diff balls will likely be around for a while as they're very useful for many bowlers. We're also curious how this would compare to the Radical Bonus, which ultimately kind of served the same purpose. It's clear that the Web Tour Hybrid uses more surface out of box, which gives it a bit more bite as well as more hook set type motion compared with the Bonus, which feels to have a slightly smoother transition from hook to roll. It is subtle. People might not notice it, but with what we've been doing, we noticed it. And I'm sure if you let it lane shine, it'll probably even get a little closer. At the end of the day, we've spoken a bunch about this formula overall, and the good thing is you won't be surprised. It probably will not need that much bite as it comes with out of box, but again, balls lane shine pretty quickly, so you probably don't have to worry about that too much about changing surfaces. Honestly, it was the same thing with the original Web Tour. It did come out of the box with a lot of surface and it lane shined pretty quick. For James, this was just as easy to use as the Radical Bonus, even with a slightly lower surface grid. We're talking 1500 versus 2000. So 1500 on the Web Tour Hybrid versus 2000 on the Bonus, so it's subtle, but there is a shape difference, but use case is identical. There's a really nice shot around the third arrow, and James was throwing a lot of strikes. You might not think that a ball with 1500 grip might be right for a house shot, but because the core is smooth to transition, it seems to store a good amount of energy. It may not carry for someone with my medium rev rate, but to be honest, the original Web Tour, which had 1000 grip, was no issue for me. I personally preferred the Web Tour on sport shots simply because sport shots naturally have sharper reaction down lane, which means it stored more energy while still being a super control shape. But back to James, there isn't much to say about all these strikes. I mean, this type of ball will have a limit from how deep you can go before it peters out. James can move in a bit, so 17 at the arrows was no problem. The cliff was clear right around the fourth arrow, and that's the nature of this much surface and a smooth core. Final thoughts: the Hammer Web Tour Hybrid is more or less the reincarnation of the original. With this much surface, it's not noticeably different from the original, and that's not a bad thing considering you can't get that one anymore. And as we said with the Radical Bonus, this type of ball will work for a lot of bowlers, but higher rev bowlers are really going to benefit from this motion on house shots. They can get on it and still have that smooth, controllable motion, and obviously the Cube Surface can do the same on sport. This one is more forward than the Bonus, but at the end of the day, it's a pick 'em. If you're a Hammer fan, you won't be disappointed.